Hey everyone, today's video was recorded back in April, so it's long overdue. It's also long overdue that I spoke to the person I talked to today, and that is Anna Różańska, whom you probably know as Panda Boss Anna. Anna is Polish, she lived in London, and she has a YouTube channel about personal finance, financial freedom, and investing and everything that comes with that. So it really felt long overdue and a bit ridiculous not to do something together. So here we are. We have a long chat about the differences between living in Poland and living in England currently, and how her life has been since she moved from London. We compare those two places and have a laugh about certain things and share frustrations about certain other things. I hope you enjoy this format. I really enjoy talking to people and I really enjoy this conversation. I hope you do also enjoy it. Let me know in the comments if you like this format, and that way I will know to invite more people to my channel. For now, this is Anna and me back in April. Enjoy. Okay, so Anna, what made you decide to move back to Poland?
I think it was a combination of things. The first thing was, for a long time, I was thinking about how I would miss my family, because the majority of my family was already in Poland. And then my parents decided to move back to Poland. So I was going to be left in London on my own. And then essentially, when I realized I don't want to sort of be in the rat race of constant 9 to 5 work, trying to pay off a mortgage and just never getting out of that cycle in London, I realized I need to move out of London, either to a village somewhere in England, or actually I was thinking more Scotland, because Scotland is more affordable. Um, or then, I went for 5 weeks to Poland. I got signed off sick from work, and I went for 5 weeks to Poland. And I realized actually I could do this here. I could be near family and have a mortgage-free life and stuff. So that was like the two things that made me realize I wanted to make the move.
The mortgage-free life seems like the biggest motivator.
Yes,
Did you achieve that?
I did. I built my house without any debt, and I was super proud. I was like, wow, I have a really nice house. That it's not like a massive house, but it's like twice the size of my apartment that I had in London, and I had it mortgage free and everything. So I essentially achieved my financial independence that I wanted to have. But then I got back into debt, which was more like I wanted to do it. It was a conscious decision in order to buy the land next to me, because I thought, okay, actually, this land will enable me to do a lot more stuff, a lot more things, like, I don't know, having chickens, or having my own vegetables and everything. Like, I just wanted it. And the opportunity came up to buy it when I didn't have the money, because I had just finished building here. I had no savings at all. So I was like, okay, I want it. I don't want someone else to buy it. So I sort of got into debt, which I'm paying off again now. But I managed to achieve the mortgage free, which is essentially the most important, because no one can kick me out of my house now.
It's a huge achievement. Congratulations. I think it's a dream of so many people, and you did it so early in your life. It's a huge achievement.
Thank you.
Do you ever travel back to London?
Not as often as I would like, but I do. I was there in March, actually, and it's really nice seeing everyone and keeping in touch. So yeah, I would like to go more often, but at the moment, I just go when I can.
Is there anything you miss about London when you're in Poland, and when you're in London, do you miss Poland? How does it look now?
Yeah, actually, it's really heavy on my mind, because there are things about both places that I love and things about both places that I hate. And whenever I visit London, I'm like, oh, I kind of miss this like city vibe and this like going to work in a suit every day with my Starbucks coffee and the hustle and bustle, and just it was a different vibe. Like I live in a village now, right? So it's a very different type of life. But then I also miss like my village vibe here, my garden, my animals, and everything. So I kind of want both, but I can't have both. So I try to remind myself of how actually when you visit London, it's a little bit different than the reality of living there. And we often look back with rose tinted glasses, don't we? So I try to remember, like, think about the cost of living in London, how difficult that was, how stressed you were riding on the tube every day when you had to wait for three tubes to pass before you could get on one. So, yeah.
How would you compare your lifestyle now? Because it's completely different. Okay, it's a countryside living, and I know that you spend a lot of time and energy fostering animals. So how would you compare your lifestyle to? Because the viewers don't know what your lifestyle was like in London and now, in terms of financial differences, but also day-to-day practicalities, emotionally, how it's different as well.
Um, I would say it's a lot less stressful now. I have a lot more freedom because despite the sort of debt and the fact that, okay, I have to work now a lot because I need to not only afford my general life and my 18 animals, but also the debt payoff. Um, but actually I still have more freedom of, okay, if I really don't want to do this, I can do something else. I can teach English, I can do YouTube, I can do translations. Whereas I think in London there was always this cloud of like, okay, if I don't keep this job, then I'm not going to have anywhere to live, and that mentally is such a weight off my shoulders that despite the fact that I have to pay off this debt, I'm like super chilled. The day to day life is very different because I commute now. So I work in a hotel. I have a really fun job that is events management sort of thing. So I'm organizing conferences, birthdays, weddings, parties, everything. So, like, it's always different. Whereas in London, I was working in finance and it was sort of same every day. It was stressful, but in a more stressful way because, okay, if it's someone's wedding, which I haven't done yet, I would find that very stressful because that is huge responsibility. But generally, everything else, it's like, okay, if something goes wrong, we fix it. It's fine. Like, it's not the same responsibility as managing an 800 million pound budget, So I feel a lot less stressed. My commute isn't an hour on a packed tube where I'm stressed before I even get to work. It's 20 minutes in the car. So it's not too bad. And I always loved animals. My mum said to me, like, why are you building a house? Why are you spending all that money just to live by yourself? You could live with us and travel the world. And I was like, yeah, but you won't let me have more than one animal, will you? And she was like, no. I was like, well, that's why I'm building a house.
Yeah, you have your reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, animals are a big priority. I feel like it's my calling and it makes me super happy when I'm surrounded by them and I feel the love I get from them. And she doesn't really understand that, but it's the same way as some people have this calling to be a mother and to have children. I've never had that. For me, it's always been rescue animals, give animals a good life. So having that makes me super happy. So yeah, that's how it's different. And financially, I think even though I made so much more money when I lived in England, I feel like I'm happier now. Uh, okay, maybe I can't afford as many things as I used to be able to, but my life is like I have everything I need. So I would rather have less stress and less money than all the stress and the ability to go shopping all I want.
Yeah, you know where the fulfillment and the meaning is, and it's not in stuff.
exactly.
What surprised you most after moving back? Negatively and positively, just in any way.
Um, I think so. I got so much hate for saying this in a YouTube video, but I did these like two videos where I talked about like things I love about Poland and things I hate about Poland. And in the video about things I hate, I mentioned this one thing which, if I had to choose, would be the thing that surprised me most. And it's actually the amount of like negativity and hate that you have with people. Uh, I'm, despite the fact I was born in Poland, you know, I grew up in England. I feel very British at heart. And I'm generally, I have the British like positivity, British like, oh, everything's fine. Like, let's just have a cup of tea. It'll be great. um, but here, like, everyone complains all the time. Everyone talks about other people all the time. Everyone like it has this like weird jealousy of like you have this and I don't, so it's not good. Rather than thinking, "Ooh, awesome! Like you have this. Like, how do I get this? Can you teach me?" It's like this hate, this hating on you, this jealousy, and that for me was, I think, the hardest thing to adapt to. I had to learn to maybe not share as much about my life, because whereas in England people found it inspiring, here they generally just hate me for it. So that for me was very, very unsettling. But what surprised me positively was how much Poland has advanced, sort of when it comes to both, for example, vegetarianism, which, you know, I've been vegetarian for like 12 years now. And when I used to come here, like people looked at me like I was crazy. I had no options to eat, whereas now supermarkets are full of vegan and vegetarian options, and how technologically advanced things are. So, you know, like the how we have Amazon lockers for deliveries from Amazon in England. They have this for all post. Everything you order online, you can send to these lockers. Or like the bleak payments and stuff, where you just pay with a code rather than giving your card details and stuff like that. So I think those were the main things that surprised me.
You mentioned the mentality, and I can relate a lot to that because as somebody who's been in London for over 2 decades now, I did play with the idea of going back, but the mentality bit really, really, you know, puts me in my place here. And I was just wondering, how that the fact that you lived abroad and you came back actually influences that mentality, that approach to you. Do you think that's also shaping how people view you?
Yeah, I think people seem to have this view that you don't understand life if you've come from abroad. But also, you have a lot of like, oh, wow, you did that. How was it? Like, you know, this curiosity. But I find if I share too much, then that curiosity starts to become a bit more like hate. You know, I had neighbors that would ask me things and invite me for like wine and coffee, and like we'd have chats, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome, this is what I've always wanted, like, you know, have a small community in a village, and all of this, yeah. But then I don't know, they would ask me all these questions about my life, and I would share it because I'm an open person. I don't, you know, hold anything to myself. And then all of a sudden they would stop inviting me, and I'd be like, I don't understand. Like, they wouldn't talk to me. I like, there's one set of neighbors that I've been trying to invite to my house pretty much since I've lived here now, and they just always have some kind of like excuse and stuff, and I'm just like, is it because this jealousy has come about of like, oh, you know, she's young, she has her own house without a mortgage and we don't, and blah blah blah. And funnily enough, this even happened with neighbors that had also been abroad previously. So to me, that was, I think, the hardest part of like, okay, but you've been abroad, you also got money and came here and built your house and stuff. Like, why are you jealous? Is it because I did it when I'm younger? Like, that's not my fault. My parents moved me when I was young, you know? Um, so yeah, I think it influences it a little bit because maybe they are jealous about like the ability to move abroad that perhaps they don't have because they don't speak English or something. But generally, I see it with everyone equally. If everyone has something, then it's not good, you know? Even my boss was telling me, like, in her previous job, she used to notice that, like, if she left her coat on a hanger and it was like a designer coat, all of a sudden everyone was talking about how much she spends on her clothes and like all this stuff. So yeah,
That's not easy to live with.
no.
Do you see the difference between countryside though and big cities? Is the mentality different in big cities?
Yes, I think generally in big cities, people keep to themselves a little bit more. I have friends who live there and they don't see this mentality as much, but also it's, I think, because in the big cities, you're starting to see a lot more sort of foreigners there. So you get that integration a bit more. And with older people, you still see it. But when I talk to sort of people of our generation, younger people, they are starting to be a little bit more open minded and a little bit more like, okay, I can also achieve these things. But here, I think a lot of the mentality is quite stuck.
Don't you find it quite surprising? Because when I go back now to Poland, there's plenty of people from Ukraine, and they have this view of Poland that is a bit different to Polish people, many Polish people, and they see it as a country of opportunity, and they settle down, and they, do their business small or big, and they just see that in comparison to Ukraine, this is just such an amazing place. How do you experience working with people from Ukraine? Do you see that? How is that going on where you are?
So I see. Sorry, let me close my window because the dog is barking. I muted, but he's still going. Uh, okay, it's very hot here at the moment. It's almost 30 degrees.
Wow, that's in April already. I remember that in May, but April, that's quick. That's quick.
It is, and we had like almost no snow. We had snow for like 2 days this winter, so I think we're definitely feeling climate change here. Part of the thing I loved about Poland was that we actually have seasons here. You know, you have winter with like snow and -20 and summer with sunshine and +35. And it feels like it's just going more towards the hot temperature now. But yes, going back to Ukraine, I have only had the opportunity to sort of interact with Ukrainians a little bit, but I know a lot of people who do, and it's interesting because the people that I knew have gone back to Ukraine, and they were the people who were very much like, I'm going to be here, I'm going to work hard, but also I love my country, I'm going to go back when I can. And I thought they were insane going back when the war hasn't finished. But I think they just wanted to go back to their home and their families and things. But I think it's an interesting way of seeing it from their perspective because I've almost done the same thing, even though I was younger. My parents moved us to England, and people were at the time still a little bit iffy about immigrants because we moved to Poland before England joined the EU. Before Poland joined the EU. Um, so we still had, like, my dad had to get working visa and all of this kind of stuff. And people didn't treat us badly. So it was interesting seeing how people in Poland treated the Ukrainians because when it first happened, everyone was super supportive and like, oh my God, let's do everything we can. And now there's this, like, again, hate towards them. And I'm like, yeah, but the war is still going. Like, how can you be hating on them because they're here and they're working uh, when there's a war going on in their country? But I don't think, from what I hear, from what people say when they still know the Ukrainians living here, I don't think it phases them very much. I think they're just very focused on, I'm just going to be here, do my thing, and once the war is over, then move back. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much to do with them. I think it's because I live in a rural village, so we had like the few that were here. We had an amazing hairdresser that everyone loved, and everyone was heartbroken when she left. But I think the majority of Ukrainians go to the bigger cities.
You say that you still very much feel British. So do you feel split? Do you feel like you've moved back, but it's still like living, with buttocks on two chairs, in a sense? You partly here, partly there.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I don't think I would ever move back. But I've learned in my life, never say never, because I used to say I would never in a million years move to Poland, like ever. And then I did. So I'm not going to say never. I'm not planning to. But maybe if a cool opportunity came around, then I would temporarily move back and experience a little bit more of that life. But I wouldn't leave all my animals. So that's the thing that makes it the most difficult to have best of both. I actually applied for a job recently that's in England. But it's a remote working job with occasional travel. So actually, if I could do that, I feel like that would give me a bit of best of both, because I would be earning in pounds, living in rural Poland most of the time, but also having to regularly travel and have meetings in England and stuff like that. So that would be cool, but I think they had a lot of applicants, so I'm not holding my breath. Um, but that is the way that I see for the best of living best of both. It's only a contract, so it's only for like a year, but that would be cool. But yeah, definitely, most of my friends are in England. My whole knowledge of finance and banking systems and taxes, everything is in English. And it's so different in Poland. And I still have this resistance a little bit in my mind to learning all the stuff here. So very much, I feel like bum on both, on two seats. Yeah.
Friend of mine, he returned to Poland 2 years ago, and initially it was just to take a break for a year, and he kind of stayed, and he lives there now. And he recently just was considering getting a mortgage, and he already has a paid off house there, but he just wanted to maybe upgrade to a bigger house, a flat. And he looked into banking, and what he was telling me was just shocking. The difference between how you need to be tied to one certain bank to even take out the mortgage. There were just so many different rules. Like, how do you navigate that? Like, how have you navigated that? Because your loan, is it in Poland or is it in the UK? How do you navigate things like the Polish NHS, and all that? Because that's a lot of paperwork.
Oh, yes. The bureaucracy is insane. I have a bit of my loan is in England. So the first part of it that I took was still in my British bank, because I was still earning money in pounds that I was getting into my bank account there. So I applied online, and it was, I loved it. It was like a few clicks online, had it with my bank. I'd been there for like 20 years with the same bank. So that was super easy. Taking out my first loan in Poland, which I did mostly because I wanted to have the credit history here, because I have nothing. And it's really important, I think, to have the credit history. It was a minefield. Like, I had to go physically to the bank to sign things. And my parents, despite the fact, that they lived here a lot more than I did before they moved, and they've been here longer since they came back, they wanted to open a joint savings account recently. And they went to the bank. They both had to be there physically to sign the papers, which they did. And then my mum realized that on her app, she didn't have access to the savings account. And she went to the bank and they told her, firstly, that there's no option to have this. So she's like, so what's the point of us having a joint account if we both can't have access to it? What? And then it turned out that no, you can do it. But actually, in order to do that, you both need to come back and both sign something again. And she was like, are you actually insane? She was like, my husband works in a different city. You're open only during hours of work. Like, he would have to take the day off for us both to come here. And she was like, forget it. Like, forget it. We're just not going to do it. So it's very frustrating, the amount of bureaucracy. The way I navigate most of it, I have an accountant. So she does a lot of like the tax stuff, all these returns, because I would not want to touch it. And, most people I know here who are self-employed in some way have accountants, because unless you are just, pay as you earn, where the company does everything for you, if you are earning anything outside of that, you need an accountant. So everyone has an accountant. And when it comes to the Polish NHS, it's trial and error mostly. I recently had an issue because I got referred for an ultrasound. I got referred in January. I had to go physically in person to the place where I get the ultrasound to actually book an appointment. I couldn't ring them. I had to go there. Then she told me, oh, yeah, it's about an 8-month wait. And I was like, fabulous. But they called me in March and they said, like, you can come on the 24th of March. And I was like, cool, okay. I thought it was an 8-month wait. And she was like, yeah, we've managed to catch up a bit. We've had a few extra doctors. I was like, okay, great, I'll be there. And she was like, yeah, okay, so don't forget to come with the referral with you. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, yeah, bring the paper, like the physical paper with you. And I was like, okay, great. Like, I didn't tell her. I was like, I don't have it anymore. Like, I wouldn't have thought I need the physical paper copy. So, I called my doctor and I told her like what happened. And she was like, oh, I'll just, do it again for you. Because everyone told me it will be in Emobyvatel. Emobyvatel is like a really cool thing because it's an app where you have a lot of government details. You have your government ID on there, you have your prescriptions and a lot of stuff. So I could see some of my referrals on there. So they are moving in the right direction of going digital. But this one wasn't there. And when I spoke to her, she was like, oh, yeah, it's because we're the same chain of hospitals. So it doesn't go on the system. It's all like between us. And I was like, great. So she sent me another one to print out. And then on the day, I realized she only gave me the referral for the stomach ultrasound and not the thyroid ultrasound, which I was also meant to have. And I went to them and I was like, I'm sorry, I only have the stomach one. I don't have the thyroid one. Like, is there any way we can still do it? And they're like, no, if you don't have the physical copy, the doctor won't do it. I was like, fabulous, great. So it's trial and error, frustration, and just learning from mistakes, really.
And lots of rigidity. And what you describe is this advanced technology when it comes to Blik and that app for citizens, and also the post you can get anytime. So it's like that's the Z, but there's also A, and like in between they didn't kind of figure out how to do it, because I'm thinking of accessibility in, for example, wheelchair users, and every time you need to go to a bank, you need to go to a doctor, and you need to be physically there. It just makes it totally not accessible.
Yeah. 100%. Like, I see it going in the right direction, but I just think it's still so far behind where, for example, England is. I had a mole removed last summer, and recently I was applying for private health insurance, and they wanted to see the results, and I was like, oh crap, I don't think I've seen the results. And I found out that actually you have to physically pick up the results. They don't send them to you, they don't call you. And I was like, yeah, on the NHS, like I would have gotten a letter. I had them all removed actually in the NHS as well, and they sent me a letter in the post and said like, we have your results. Like, actually, can you come in? Which is a bit scary. But we came in for an appointment, and they said everything was fine. I just wanted to explain to you like the results and what happened and stuff. Whereas here, like, no one called me and told me my results were ready. They were just sitting there in the doctor's surgery. And I forgot about it because I still had the NHS mindset of, oh, someone will contact me. So yeah, it's a long journey still. Yeah.
What do you feel that you wish you had known before going back? Like, what do you wish you had known, or just thought about before moving back?
I think the bureaucracy, 100%. Like, I don't even think it would be the jealousy and hate. I think it would just be the bureaucracy because I wasn't ready for it and it terrified me. And I think if it wasn't for my parents, where generally my dad helps me so much with like the paperwork. So, when I was building my house, there's so much paperwork around it. Um, the legal jargon in Polish, the way that they write all of the official letters and stuff, they do not make it easy. And most of it, despite the fact I speak pretty good Polish, all of the like official language stuff is just over my head. So if it wasn't for my parents, I think I would be in a completely different place. But they really helped me. But I wish I had known just how much bureaucracy there would be, so I could mentally prepare a little bit more. And I think also, probably not relevant for everyone, but everyone told me that the house build would cost so much more than you expect it to cost, and it did. And I think if I had known that actually there would always be additional costs that you're not expecting, and just how much it would be, I would have probably waited a bit longer before I moved. So I often say, like, I don't regret moving. I regret not waiting like a year longer and saving a bit more money. So that, I think, those are my main two things.
Do you operate in Polish? Because you say that, yeah, you do operate in Polish. It's just the legal language that is just so too much.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not known to me as much. Whereas like normal Polish, I had on a daily basis with my parents, my family. When I first moved, everyone could hear I was foreign because they could hear it in my accent. And I was missing words a lot. It's like, oh, how do I say this? How do I say this? Now, the longer I've been here, the less you can hear it in my accent, the less words I'm missing. But still, it's everyday language. It's like, events management, it's shopping, it's talking to neighbors, it's not on a daily basis sorting out legal documents. So that aspect of the language is still a little bit foreign to me.
To make you feel better, I was in Poland for much longer than you were, and still I refuse to renew my ID card or my passport because the moment I just go on to Polish embassy website in London, the language is there, and even the way it's presented, the website, it's a mess. It's just a mess. And I just refuse to do it. So I just use my British passport for everything now, and I can't face it. And I can totally relate to having an accountant because I use my parents' accountant even when I was employed as PAYE in Poland because the tax return was so complicated. So there is a huge barrier when it comes to, professional things in your life in Poland. Yeah.
But even like things like investing, for example, they make it so difficult because in Poland, when you do your tax returns at the end of the year, also the fact you even have to do a tax return when you're employed, like by a company, to me is just mind blowing. But when you do them, like if you have investments, you actually have to basically, even if you haven't sold any investments, you have to basically put in your gains and losses on the investments that you hold, which to me is crazy because I'm like, but I haven't made that money yet, or I haven't lost that money yet because I haven't sold that investment. So why am I putting this on my tax return, and why are you taxing me on it? Which that to me is just absolutely ridiculous, and a huge barrier to entry for people to invest. Because again, if you are just employed and you just do your tax return every year, and it's fairly simple because if you have no other income and you've been doing it your whole life, then it's fine. If you suddenly have to start actually doing a tax return for all these investments, that to people is going to be like, oh no, 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 I don't want to do that, it's too much, and I'm going to have to pay taxes even though I haven't made that money, and stuff like that. So i wish I wish that they would change it, but we'll see.
I looked into who teaches investing in Poland, and even that was so overcomplicated. It was like a master's degree in investing, so unnecessary. But I found it in general in Poland. I was looking into because I thought maybe I will go back and retrain because I want to retrain in something. And even the route to retrain in something, it was like you need to start with a master's degree and this and that. It's always a master's and never the degree. There are no NVQs that they don't exist in Poland. There are no different paths for people who don't necessarily want to go to the uni. Okay, the uni is free, but of course it's more competitive because it is free. But it's so time consuming and so flooded with theory, the practical bit is just missing. And
Yeah.
I always find it, the whole barrier of entry to anything is they make it so complicated, as if everybody has masters, but it's still seen as so expert. Whereas here, people without masters, without degrees, will teach you things and they will practice things because it's all about doing it, not about theory in so many areas of life.
um, the degree thing drives me insane, actually. When I first moved here, I was applying for jobs in finance. And, everyone was like, oh my God, you'll get a job like that with your experience. I'm a chartered accountant, right? Which is actually it's a qualification that's higher than a degree, right? The CIMA qualification. And I have 11 years of experience in government finance, where I was a senior leader for the last 7 years. So everyone was like, oh my God, with your English, your chartered accountancy, and your experience in government finance, like you'll get a job like that. When I tell you, whenever I applied in England, I would always get an interview, always, 100% of the time, I would get an interview, and most of the time I would get the job. Here, I didn't get a single interview, not one, which to me was crazy. And the only reason for it is that I don't have a degree, because I went through the apprenticeship route, where I did the apprenticeship with experience and just doing my qualifications alongside it, where I went straight into CIMA. But yeah, don't have a degree. We don't care that you have 11 years of experience and a qualification that's higher than a degree, but you don't have a degree. It drives me mad.
It's just highly frustrating, highly frustrating.
I don't know if that will ever change. I hope it will, for the sake of the kids here, to be honest. But yeah, infuriating.
Hmm. Okay, so what's next for you? What's next for you, for your animals? What do you see yourself doing in the next year or so? I don't look at the next 5 years. That's too much of a corporate question.
Well, I've started doing my YouTube again. I miss doing it. It was, I started it to help people, and then it just got too overwhelming, and I kept stopping, starting, stopping, starting. But I want to grow it again. So I'm working on the videos there, the website. I want to do a memberships thing. So I'm really focusing on that, and English, because going forward, I'm doing this hotel thing. It's nice. I don't know if I want to stay in it long term. I think it's a nice short term experiment, where I'm having fun, I'm doing it, but ultimately, I don't really want to be in the 9 to 5. I want to work for myself. So in the next sort of 6 months, I want to really focus on building up the YouTube channel again, because even if I could get my AdSense to a place where it used to be, not even talking about affiliates and sponsors, just the AdSense, then that alongside teaching English would be more than enough for me to live off of. So that's my main focus, and carry on fostering and going out of my mind with the amount of animals and cleaning and dog walks I have. But I don't see myself giving that up, just because it brings me so much joy. So that's basically what I'm going to focus on, is just having more time for the animals, because when I work the 9 to 5, I have much less time for them than I did before I started it. I had 6 months last year where I was only doing my own thing, and it was the best 6 months ever. And then I got roped into this hotel because I went there to waitress for the summer, just because in summer people take a break from English lessons. So I had like very little income, and I needed to supplement it with waitressing. And then I ended up in sales and marketing. So
As you do.
as you do. But yeah, that's my plan.
That's a good plan. Have you thought of incorporating your animals into your YouTube? Just like a different kind of branch or playlist.
Yeah, I mean, I started an Instagram account for them. I don't have much time yet to make as much content as I would like. But actually, I just got inspired by. I started the account just because I was sick of spamming people with photos of them. I was like, I will make a separate account so people who wanted to see them can follow this account. But actually, I saw this girl who posts, I think she has a similar amount of animals to me, like permanent animals. And she posted how much my animals made on social media last year. And it blew my freaking mind. It was just, I think it was like 500,000 or something.
Mm-hmm. People love cats. People love cats and dogs.
Insane. Oh my God. So I was like, wow, okay. I need to put my animals to work. Even if I was making just enough to cover their food costs, which is quite a lot. I pay about 1,500 zloty per month for food, which is like more than I pay for myself for food. So in pounds, it doesn't seem like a lot because it's like £300. But actually in zloty, when you're earning in zloty, it is a lot. So it would be nice to even make half of that from them working on Instagram.
Yeah, they need to earn their keep.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely on the cards.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. And you?
I think it's super interesting to me to see somebody who's moved back and experiences the reality from your perspective and your experience in living in London. I think there's plenty of people who are curious about it, and there is this exodus now of Poles, moving back to Poland, and they're just curious what it's like.
Very true. I think generally, like even people moving to other countries, like I've seen people moving to Dubai, I've seen people moving to Thailand. Like my TikTok now is full of people going like, I left England for Thailand and like I wouldn't look back and all this. So I think generally a lot of people leaving. So a lot of curiosity about what life is like somewhere else.
And also the economy. I mean, when you compare English economy now and Polish, we're not talking about Dubai and Thailand because that's cost of living. I can get that, but if we just narrow it down to Poles, they can see that Poland is actually catching up with Europe, so the economy is thriving, and England not necessarily so.
Yeah, 100%. So you can come back.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
And we can meet, go for coffee.
Okay, you can come back to come to London when you get the job, and then we'll go for coffee.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. And then I can convince you to move back here.
All right. Thanks, Anna. Thanks. It
Thank
was
you
it was
very
a
much.
pleasure.
Speak soon.